Memetics, put simply, is the study of how ideas spread, how they propagate, how a concept or piece of information or media can travel through pathways of communication, and what happens in the ever-varying journey from point A to point B to point C, and so on and so forth. As an element of human interaction, memes have existed for longer than the spoken word. Fire, tools, safety, danger, all transferred in the minds of troglodytes via primordial memetics. As such, sociologists, psychologists, and philosophers throughout history have attempted to describe this phenomenon of the human condition to mixed success. But as an explicit realm of scientific study, it is an infantile domain. The word meme was coined by evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins in his 1976 work, The Selfish Gene, where he used the term to compare this basic unit of transmitted thought to the obvious biological counterpart, genes. Both hold information, sometimes useful, sometimes utterly useless. They are passed from generation to generation, and in that process, they mutate. They evolve. In the process of natural selection that follows, what survives is shaped by both internal and external forces. The ability to adapt, that innate flexibility of identity and function, is then the most valuable aspect for the gene, for the meme, to hold. I am telling you this now not because it is immediately important. No, in fact, very soon I will turn the conversation to something wildly different. But keep it in mind. You may find it useful in understanding the topic of discussion. Those of you who are in the know may know of a little-known social media app known as iFunny. Far from your Twitter and your Facebook and YouTubes, this forum of the socially deranged is host to a menagerie of weirdos, freaks, fucks, and sick fucks. Since coming on the scene in 2013, it's mostly flown under the radar in comparison to more mainstream counterparts. Instagram, Reddit, Vine, TikTok all hold their own weight in the internet sphere of content generation and circulation. But what if I were to tell you that this little speck of Soviet spyware actually had one of the most pivotal roles in shaping the online culture of the last decade? Skeptical? Reasonably so. But tell me, do you know this dog? I'd be skeptical myself if you said no. This is Doge. In 2013, Doge was one of the hallmarks of internet culture, with its quirky, colorful Comic Sans lettering of wacky and uncharacteristic phrases. But like most trends do, it faded and was quickly replaced with the next shiny object. Out with the old, in with the new. Hey, this gorilla looks cool. But that wasn't the end, as the incarnation of Doge you know today is likely very, very different than what came across screens in the 20-teens. Now, you may recognize something closer to this, or 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 this. Why the change? What took this dog from these dated catchphrases into such a wide range of wacky and uncharacteristic scenarios?
Somebody ring the dingster!
Ironic Doge posting, in all of its various forms, is a certified iFunny original meme creation. Sharon, Isabel, Feet, Walter, Cheems, Uncle Murphy, and all, iFunny has its grubby mitts all over the revival of this dead meme. But, some of you may say, while ironic Doge posting certainly has its place in the modern meme economy, it's hard to make the argument for iFunny's importance on this one meme alone. Which is fair, but let me give you a few more examples and I think you'll see my case. Ironic usage of impact font, ironic usage of Peter Griffin and Family Guy, ironic usage of racism, sexism, nationalism, and most other forms of weaponized bigotry, unironic usage of all of the above outlined isms, Mono Mono, K, when you leavin', what's poppin' Jimbo, flex tape, basically I'm monkey, Fortnite burger, crab rave, oppressed gamer slash gangweed slash incel joker. Okay, this is epic. Damn, he wasn't lying, that X can Y, cruise plan. The reemergence of Nugget in a Biscuit. Claims to be pro-life, dies anyway. Made by X-Gay. Fuck X, all my homies hate X. This one's going in my cringe compilation. Slapnuts, Rigby's mixtape. Gonna cry, gonna piss your pants maybe shit and come. Weed card. This ain't it, chief. Ram Ranch. This is how you eat a Big Mac. I've come to say the N-word. Die Very Rough, the Curious George song. Conspiracy theory montages set to either of those last two songs or somebody that I used to know. The Dancing Nordic Bronze Age Man. Ooh yeah. The pufferfish eating a carrot. I just want to grill for God's sake. With your male subscribers.
Twows.
Bruh sound effect number 2. Time for your dick flattening. Hey, yo, the pizza's here. I like your cut, G. You're going to Brazil. POV, your ex. Comically large spoon. Wide Putin. Jue Hao Piao. Baka Mitai and deepfakes of George Floyd, Jeffrey Epstein, and other pop culture figures. Yankee with no brim. Verbal Ace Thanos beatboxing. Penis music. Impractical Jokers, tonight's big loser. Do you fart? Now draw her doing X. Which chipmunk is getting the best head? Oh, so you love X? Name every one. Big Floppa. Goop go off. This singing turtle. Shocked Walter White. Cover yourself in oil. Unravel or Donnie's theme. And Burger King foot lettuce. All of these memes, all of them, were either spawned directly from iFunny's community, or iFunny had a heavy hand in their popularization, revival, or reinvention into new ironic or post-ironic form. Yes, iFunny has been on the grind, outputting a steady stream of original and creative memetic content for at least the past 5 years. But for some reason, if you were to ask any sufficiently internet-savvy individual on what sites, apps, and forums memes come from, that smiley-faced fleck of human debris wouldn't show up in the 5th percentile of answers. Why is that? Well, there's 4 main reasons.
I can deny it no longer. I am small.
Let's face it, iFunny, like much of its user base, is small and unpopular. If we take a look at the Google Trends data for the search interest of several social media sites, you'll see that the flat blue line at the bottom is iFunny. Unknown by most, competitors like Twitter simply hold much larger purchase in the collective headspace of the online world. Presidents and government officials have Twitter accounts, celebrities have Instagram pages and YouTube channels, ferrets and the underage population of the United States have TikTok tumors. When was the last time anyone of serious importance had an iFunny account? Rand Paul doesn't count. Volt, I'm watching you.
Black people.
Most people who use iFunny likely came across the app in middle or high school. As such, the people who were exposed to the app by proxy or left the app when they grew older probably associated with that awkward period in their lives. Hormones, embarrassing memories, and cringe behavior go hand in hand with the public persona of iFunny. Not that it's unwarranted, because it absolutely is. And we don't do anything to help ourselves either, especially when the only other exposure the app gets is through FBI investigations and news reports every time some potential terrorist, ferret, or actual murderer that was using the app gets nay-nayed. Sex sells, kids. And sex sells kids. Racism generally doesn't. Who would blame someone for thinking of the app as anything other than a wretched hive of scum and villainy?
Presentation!
The type of memes that iFunny generally outputs are abstract, to say the least. I'll give more detail on why that is later, but just understand that the sense of humor that iFunny presents to the world at large can range from unbelievably outdated to mildly off-putting to call the police, these people are legitimate threats to society. To be fair, you have to have a pretty high IQ, or voices in your head, to understand what the hell these people are talking about half the time. And that's a bit much to expect from the general public, considering half the country was apparently dumb enough to elect a corpse into the White House this year. Of all of the first female presidents to pick, you went with this one.
Yoink! Yoink!
Yoink!
Yoink!
But probably the biggest reason why iFunny isn't getting credit for its memes is because people are taking it from them. And not because they aren't putting their names on their work, because they are, and that's a meme in itself. Which also kinda got copied by one of the biggest culprits, which is ironic. Because the iFunny watermark can be so easily cropped out, and images can be directly saved from the app, videos too if you know the trick, stealing a meme has never been easier. And why wouldn't you? If you came across such fresh meme material hiding in a back alley that no one has ever heard of, wouldn't you take it? What are they going to do? Complain that you stole their meme? Who cares? You got free internet points for skulking through Collective. This is the philosophy that's driving Redditors to take from iFunny for years. One subreddit in particular is especially guilty. Nearly everything posted there is lifted directly from iFunny, and they get all the credit. Not that this is a unique behavior. Everyone on the internet steals everything from everyone else, all of the time. But the main takeaway is that, in this sea of thieves, the bragging rights are repeatedly stolen from the smaller fish by the big dogs, and this metaphor is falling apart. Now that I've explained why iFunny doesn't get credit for becoming so involved in the meme industry, you might be asking yourself, then, in the hierarchy of meme making, where does iFunny fit? Is it top tier, SS ranked? If all roads lead to Rome, do all memes lead to iFunny? How do memes flow through the modern meme ecosystem? To which I'd say, wow, fucking nerd, why would you care? Anyways, here's my answer. Memes don't have one specific life cycle that they follow, but you can generally put them in one of 7 states. Conceptualization. The idea is born or an initial event of interest occurs. Generation. The meme is put into its initial form. The first joke is told, the first template made. Development. The meme evolves, taken into different directions depending on user input. Spread. The meme is circulated through and between different sites. Degeneration. The joke is getting old. It loses its humor as more people have been exposed to it. It becomes cliché or generic. Hibernation. Memes don't die on the internet until they become completely unrelatable. They go into periods of disuse. They wait for someone to bring them back for a nostalgic laugh or to be transformed into something new. This can take a while though. Redevelopment. An old meme is taken, examined, and gets a new spin. Maybe the joke is so outdated and overused that it becomes ironically funny, or people may begin unironically enjoying something that was originally ironic. As time goes on, a meme may exist in multiple stages at once. What's old and overdone in one corner of the internet may just be getting its footing in another. Let's get ourselves a little bit of a flowchart going here. Most websites with a substantial community will conceptualize and generate their own memes. Some do it better or more often than others. Facebook makes a lot of its own content, but rarely does it hold any value. When 4chan actually does make something, it's usually pretty funny, but that rarely happens. TikTok and Twitter are also big generators due to their large user bases, but their memes can vary wildly in quality. Oh, and Reddit? Reaction images don't really count as memes. So a meme starts at iFunny, usually the result of an in-joke in its niche communities or the redevelopment of older trends and ideas. It spreads within the app and develops. At some point, Twitter or Instagram catch wind, usually from iFunniers posting memes on their other accounts. In exposure to much larger viewer bases, potent memes will spread rapidly, and may develop even further if they hold some staying power. Then, TikTok and Reddit hear about it, and it starts degenerating. For YouTube, the nature of the video production cycle means usually their memes are behind anywhere from a few days to a few months. As things circulate and recirculate, eventually everyone gets tired, and the meme slowly enters hibernation. As unfunny people look for free content, old posts are passed between Snapchat, 9gag, Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, and the iFunny featured section. Now, take all of that with a grain of salt. If I was going to fully explain every possible permutation of events a meme could progress through in its life, I would need to bump up my communications minor to a major. For the sake of my argument, let's assume this model is generally accurate. So we know iFunny makes memes. Good memes. We know why it doesn't get credit, and we know its niches in the online content ecosystem. But how did it get in this position? If the nation of iFunny reaps bountiful meme harvests from fertile grounds, why has it not risen in notoriety with time? Why is it still at the bottom of the food chain? What if I told you that these factors were not only directly related, but purposeful consequences of iFunny's design? Crazy, I know, but I'm not the only one to think so. 2 words. Codex iFunicus. In iFunny user Brusvier's lamentations on the past, present, and future of iFunny, he outlines the principal tenets that have resulted in its potency as a meme generator and its place of disdain to outside observers. 2 design aspects of iFunny's user interface that are unique among social media outlets are its featured and collective sections. The former, a cultivated array of posts selected by either the app administrators, or more likely by a fleet of bots and bot accounts, representative of the current trends on the general internet, which is released in multiple batches throughout the day to all users. The latter, an unfiltered stream of the full content of the entire app. Every post from every user all mixed together in an ever-changing flurry of random kek, cringe, and softcore porn. Both of these are completely unpersonalized for the user, meaning everyone is exposed to nearly the exact same content in those 2 sections. Imagine an outsider using iFunny for the first time. They're immediately thrown into the features, which consists of mostly reposted content from Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and various cartoons, televisions, and movies. Rarely anything funny, much less original. If they decide to continue exploring the app, which a good portion of the population is probably too lazy to do of their own volition, the next place they go to is collective. What awaits is a notable drop in consistent quality of content, as they scroll through every unfunny or flat-out horny Joe Schmo who's made a post in the last 5 minutes. And that's not taking into account the likelihood they'll find someone dying in a live leak video. If that's not the kind of experience to turn a new user off from the app, I don't know what is. Together, the iFunny featured and collective sections create an invisible shield of cringe, keeping the general populace resigned to the outermost layers of the iFunny user base. This leaves the inner communities, or the deep iFunny, mostly untouched. Brusphere compares it to the phenomenon of a lake that's been frozen over. If we say cringe is cold, the top layers are completely solid ice, but that forms a barrier to keep the heat of the water in the lower layers. Another consequence of the untailored experience iFunny provides is that finding good content takes effort. You're not automatically fed content that suits your tastes. Yes, there is a hashtag system to find posts tagged with relevant topics or keywords you can appreciate, but not every post is tagged with relevant tags, especially not the good ones. The system is also rife with abuse, or tag whoring, and without insider knowledge, you can't necessarily know which tags have the best posts. You can't just search funny or meme. Instead, you have to fill your own subscription feed with accounts you find interesting or enjoyable. You have to build your own way into a network of subscriptions, tracing repubs back to their most original posters. And even after you initially subscribe to someone, your subscriptions must be regularly pruned of accounts that no longer suit your tastes. If you're coming from other sites, TikTok or Reddit especially, that lack of instant gratification can be difficult to navigate, not to mention the sometimes baffling design choices made for the user interface. iFunny has been reliably filled with glitches, bugs, and malfunctions that can infuriate even long-time regular users of the app. Never mind a new user, and the staff aren't terribly interested in fixing this either. They gave up on serious moderation long ago, and their only real concern is continuing to make money from ads and Bitcoin mining off the user's background data. This labyrinth of poor ergonomics and programming failures maintains that only a very dedicated few ever find the treasures within. Ironically, the lack of accreditation is what's allowed iFunny to remain the ramshackle yet nitrous engine it is. Compare this to 4chan and
the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft.
Historically, both were known by only a select few in the deeper levels of internet culture, seen mostly as cesspools of toxicity, hatred, and degeneracy. Unmonitored by the public eye, they were allowed to ferment, forming a unique creative space where original, interesting in-jokes and lore could accumulate and last for years, much in the same way as iFunny today. People could do anything they wanted, and the results were abstract, strange, and fascinating. They built their own identities. As more people became aware of these spaces, however, the new users began to flood in. They didn't understand the delicate balance that maintained these communities, nor the reasons the meme/lore output were so funny or interesting. 2B2T's wait times shot through the roof when people covered it on YouTube. 4chan's comedy was diluted and degenerated as the untrained masses attempted to harness a new source of clout. Their identity collapsed into the generic sea of mass media users. Paradoxically, as long as people think iFunny isn't worth their time, that it's just filled with hatred, and that it produces nothing of value, the outer bubble, the shield of cringe, won't be burst, and iFunny will retain its viability as a meme producer and enjoyable community. This last tenet is my own addition, but it combines some of the other factors contributing to iFunny's specific flavor and identity. iFunny was designed as a comedy app, not a forum, not a social media, not blogging or modeling or anything else. Comedy and memes specifically. Being made in 2013, it comes built in with the tools for creating memes from the golden age of meme development. So, with time, users have found alternative ways to use the app's infrastructure in new and creative meme formats. A comic creator intended for Rage Comics becomes an art or rant platform, and the built-in stickers of Rage Comics provide excellent fodder for ironic and meta meme usage. Similarly, users can generate image macros with custom images in the classic impact font, which have been repurposed for ironic intent. In addition, the app's photo and GIF captioning tools are markedly different from other apps' equivalents, providing an elegantly simple method of creating captioned images recognizable as coming only from iFunny. The app was built from the ground up with comedy in mind, and this different starting point sets iFunny apart from all of its contemporaries. Earlier, I mentioned the similarities between 4chan, 2b2t, and iFunny, noting how increased attention was a detriment to their existing communities and atmospheres. If popularity led to their downfall, does the future hold the same fate for iFunny? The fourth section and conclusion of Codex Iphonicus is titled Demise of a Dream. It postulates that one of two inevitable deaths will occur for the app. One physical, one spiritual. The first, physical death, is the simplest and maybe the more preferable. By some series of events, the app and its accompanying website are permanently shut down. Maybe the FBI finally calls it quits. Maybe the Russian government cracks down on the developers for some reason. Maybe they just give up entirely because it's become an unwieldy mess of glitches and code. Whatever the means, it's very likely that iFunny could disappear instantly with no warning and no trace. All that would remain of its existence is what we, the users, would have chosen to record previously. The community would scatter, and the lack of its presence would reverberate throughout the internet. For a comparison, look to Vine. It was universally popular in a certain age group from period of 2013 to 2017, 4 full years. The finity, or the finiteness of its existence gave a sense of importance and loss when it finally did disappear, creating a sensation that cemented its place as a touchstone of cultural significance. Even today, I imagine most young adults can quote their favorite Vines. iFunny may not have ever been as popular as Vine, but it has lasted nearly twice as long. As sentimental as it is for a select group of users, I'm not sure that its end would hold the same emotional impact for the internet at large. Still, if it's killed while it's somewhat alive, that may be the best way to preserve the truest essence of what made it great. The second death, which I believe is already on its way to occurring, is a spiritual one. Here, the shield of cringe, the bubble of public perspective that protects the core of the app's being, breaks down entirely. The cause of this form of death would be much more apparent, and everyone would be able to see it coming. If, say, a large YouTuber began making videos on iFunny exposing the deeper communities, then their likely young Redditor fanbase would surge into the app, alongside other YouTubers looking to capitalize on any opportunity for new content. I know some of you are aware of Hybrid Calisthenics, a young fitness and life trainer who has gained a significant following on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and iFunny in the last year or so. On iFunny especially, his recognition of the app as his favorite has gained him a dedicated fanbase, and he takes a special interest in interacting with its community. He's unusual in that he seems to be fairly aware of his position and the danger he could pose to iFunny's ecosystem. In his favor, he doesn't have any links to his iFunny account on his other accounts or website, and from what I've seen, he doesn't ever, if rarely, mentions the app outright. But at the same time, there is his use of the phrase, part of the ship, part of the crew. In early October, Hybrid released some new merchandise, a shirt with part of the ship, part of the crew on an eyeless smiley face. It was a limited release, ending production on December 10th, but still, it exists. He wants to wear it in videos, he advertised it on his accounts, and he uses the phrase casually on other apps. The phrase comes from Pirates of the Caribbean, where souls who joined the crew of the Flying Dutchman were said to be physically part of the ship. This was used widely on iFunny as a sign of camaraderie, as people who joined the app had a hard time leaving permanently, and usually returned in some capacity. Hybrid Calisthenics' use of the phrase spreads it to outsiders, who then want to understand the reference. They look it up and look at that. Urban Dictionary directs them straight to iFunny. I use this as an example to demonstrate how even small references by popular people can chip away at the shield. Compound this over 100 small internet celebrities and we'd have a problem on our hands. But that's not the only way that the shield can falter. In 2020, the content in the featured section has shifted to express a much more conservative bent. It's racier, more openly critical, offensive, and controversial. It more accurately reflects the mindset of the user base and the content they output. That may initially sound good for the users, a based featured section is still pretty based, but as a method of hiding the app's true nature to outside observers, this is no bueno. If the actual best content is the first thing a new user sees when opening the app, they can easily just take the memes and run, or even worse, implant themselves en masse around the creative hubs of the deep iFunny, effectively suffocating them in cringe. We can already see this occurring with the surge of Redditor-like behavior that celebrates iFunny in-app. Accounts with far under 1,000 days, even 500 days, will pretend that they're fully in the know with cool kids on the app, despite having nothing beyond a cursory knowledge of its history and influence. Phrases like part of the ship, part of the crew, and the forbidden app or the rules of iFunny began as small in-jokes, but quickly became overused by new users as they tried to attach themselves to an existing collective identity. Today, veteran users with 2,000 plus days in the app hate these phrases for that exact reason, and it's likely only going to get worse from here. Whatever the cool kids do, the young and impressionable trend hoppers will imitate, and they will imitate it poorly, and they will imitate it without context, and they will imitate it often. So, can iFunny's spiritual death be avoided? What can we do to stop it, if anything? How can we stop people from stealing iFunny's memes? Well, I'll flat out tell you, there's nothing you can do to stop people from stealing iFunny's memes. Internet Historian has a good video on Reddit's attempts to curb meme theft, and spoiler alert, you can't stop it, no matter how big your watermark is. The only real way to stop people from stealing your memes is to stop making memes, and I don't think anyone really wants to or expects to see that happen with iFunny. So what about saving the shield? The trouble is, we don't have much real control over the content in the featured section. If we did, we'd likely already have seen collapse, as the truly popular users would be regularly featured and exposed to outsiders. Whatever the proverbial feature team decides to showcase is out of our hands. I see no way to stop the bots that fill the features with conservative content, and complaining will do less than nothing. iFunny's owners and developers are motivated purely by business. So then, it would follow that we can exercise the most and or only influence over the situation by controlling our own interactions using iFunny's content in a broader social sphere. A complete embargo on mentioning the forbidden app would be infeasible and likely unnecessary. Most iFunniers have so little impact on society as individuals that they'd even contemplate using iFunny in the first place. The people to really watch for are the influencers, the popular kids, the people with significant followings. Every hybrid calisthenics or apanda that makes offhanded references diverts attention to iFunny. If they're aware of their impact, they can attempt to mitigate those damages. And the same goes for anyone originated from iFunny who gains a significant following. Limiting our presence could add years of extra life to a dying app. So with that in mind, you might be asking yourself, hey, Element, why the fuck are you putting this video on YouTube? Isn't this a flagrant attempt to expose the inner workings of iFunny to an outsider audience on one of the largest collections of digital media to ever exist? A little, hypocritical, isn't it? I'll admit, I'm in a weird position. I've contemplated the discussion matter of this video for quite some time, and I knew eventually I wanted to share my thoughts in a more lengthy and organized manner than an app like iFunny normally allows for. YouTube appears to be the best place where I can expel these ideas into circulation. That's what this channel is. It's a space where I can discuss the topics I find interesting and talk about the things I like. Sometimes that's obscure music. Sometimes that's the stories of 1980s Mariner accidents. And sometimes that's iFunny. I especially enjoy talking about things that people very rarely appear to have covered before. If you were to look up iFunny on a fresh YouTube account, you'd likely find a few things. Various random meme compilations, a 40-minute rant by a they-them I couldn't be bothered to watch, Kneecap's social media tier list, a Swagger Souls video, and this guy choking on bad scotch for like 2 minutes. I actually kinda like that one. The point is, no one of any significant presence has made it their mission to seriously document whatever the hell is happening on this godforsaken app. Which is strange because you'd think someone at some point in the internet's fascination with following strange rabbit holes would have picked up on the weird behaviors of an app that's apparently been downloaded 10 million times. So, I have a choice. I could talk about these things, about Woodward, strange interactions with no PFPs, interesting history, Army of Christ, the Carkers, all of it. I could gather whatever information remains in the aether, condense it into a series of videos that other people may or may not find interesting, and in doing so, I expose the app to a whole new audience, potentially accelerating the decay of the app. or I find other things to talk about. I don't make references to the app in my videos, I don't use insider jokes, and I divorce my public persona from the app entirely. In the short term, nothing is accelerated, and I am no longer in any part responsible for furthering decay. But it becomes increasingly likely that no one will be talking about the app. Not about what happened on it, not the people that use it, not what impact it had on the world, nothing about it, really. We wait for iFunny to physically die, and then that's it. All of it is more or less lost. Fragmented communities may remain, and a few individuals may have pieces of the puzzle left in their memories, but for the most part, there would be very little to indicate that iFunny was ever here, or that it was anything more than a failed social media platform. Once it's gone, I would have free reign to discuss at length my experiences on the app, but of course, the reference material would be gone. I would only have my own memory to go off, and I really don't like this outcome. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm some internet celebrity whose choices and video topics have lasting ramifications on the universe at large. No, I'm a Midwestern college student with a 1,300 subscriber YouTube channel. My most popular video only has 18,000 views. I'm not suggesting that my choices hold any serious weight in the matter. So that's why I decided to go through on this video, and the Cursebreaker documentary, and any other videos I've made or will make talking about iFunny, because from what I've seen, no one else is going to, and I'd rather document at least some small part of the app before it's gone. There are legitimately interesting stories to be told about this app, and it would be a shame if they never got the attention they deserved. So, to recap my train of thought, iFunny has had a significant impact in the online sphere via its contributions to the modern sensibilities and formatting of memes. Despite this, it remains largely unrecognized due to its small user base, public perception, style, presentation, and meme thieves. iFunny has come to hold a position as a main content generator in the flow of memes throughout the online ecosystem. It came to and maintains this position because of its deceptive outward appearance, confusing user interface, lack of recognition, and design as a comedy entertainment app. Unfortunately, iFunny is heading towards either a physical or spiritual death, the former unpredictable and the latter accelerated by attempts to bring more attention to iFunny. Rather than allow knowledge of iFunny's existence to be misportrayed or fall into obscurity, I have decided to continue documenting the app and its inhabitants despite any risks of acceleration. As regrettable as it is that iFunny may either disappear or become overwhelmed in a few years' time, it will be interesting to see how the internet adapts around it. What happens to the internet when one of these major content generators loses its effectiveness? Will some other site fill the gap? If so, all I can say is invest in Parler meme stock. And all of that's assuming that increased exposure will have that effect. Who knows? Maybe the extra pressure is just what iFunny needs to transform it into a right and proper social media titan. Because everyone knows that massive demographic change always results in increased productivity, prosperity, and stability at no expense to the existing culture. But seriously, I have some faith. iFunny, if anything, has been adaptable. When your reality is a slow boiling pot, you have to be to not lose it. Never mind the growing list of users who have actually lost it. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The people who use this app have put up with a lot, and they've found ways to survive and move forward. If there's anyone I trust to repel or repulse an impending horde of Redditors and Instagram bots, it's iFunny. In conclusion, the Memetic revolution and its consequences have been, and likely will continue to be, a disaster for iFunny. Thank you for watching, and as always, freak out.
closer.